Hi guys, welcome back. It's Friday evening. Yesterday I tried to fire this bike up, so it's actually all back together, airbox is on all properly, if it was in there and so on and so on. What I realised after checking, the bike sounded like it wanted to go, but what I realised once I checked was I undid this screw and there was nothing in it except crap, except basically the carb cleaner I sprayed in, and there was fuel in here, so fuel, it wasn't getting into this carb at all. So as scary as it is, I do need to get this off again properly, and I do need to be able to break it apart fully. Now, one thing I learned yesterday was that most of these tubes are overflow pipes, so I don't need to worry too much about them. These are just overflow pipes, so there if something goes wrong, so they're not a huge issue at this stage. I need to look at where all the other pipes go, so I've got something up here, so this one up here. What I think I'm going to do actually, guys, is I think I'm going to mark some of these with dots, so a dot of paint and a dot of paint, and any, maybe down here, a dot of paint and a dot of paint. Now the problem last time when I had these carbs off was I can kind of get to this one, I can kind of get to the other one, but there's one here in the middle that you just can't get to, and I could not spin it. It was the screw had rounded, but I at least need to get this bowl off to give this carb a good clean, ideally both. So that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to be taking it all off again, stripping it down as far as I can, and then looking at taking it all off again, so that I can really give it a good clean, because it desperately needs it. We've got spark now, so that's good, but that front carb had no fuel in it at all, so we need to get some fuel in it to give it the best chance of firing up. So I'm going to start stripping down, and I'll kind of update you bit by bit as I go along. So it was much easier and much less scary second time round. The only pipe I need to concern myself with is this one here. I'm just going to put a dot of paint on there and a dot of paint on there. At the moment the rest doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to have these carbs off fully to be able to then look at if I can take the bowls off or not. I'll keep you updated. So guys, the screws were really solid and I've had to split the carbs a touch. So I've pulled them out of their frame basically for now, to pull this up enough to be able to undo this with the grips. The grips always works on these things if you can get it in. So this bowl is about to come off. Let's do some real time. Let's show you exactly what we're looking at. I mean, look how bad that is. It's loose and my screwdriver won't even open it. So I think this should be really gummed up. I think it should look terrible. Knowing my luck, it looks perfectly, beautifully clean. I have sprayed some carb cleaner down there, but I just don't think that gave enough. Remember, this is the carb that wasn't receiving fuel. By the way, the actual throttle, look how loose it is now. Lovely. So that job, I looked for ages to buy new carbs at over £100. Yeah, I mean that's bad, guys. Let me smell it. Oh, that's pure varnish. That's crazy. Look at that. And then you've got the gunk. So that's bad. Saying that, the actual what is that yellow? Oh, that's crap and all. See that extra weight wouldn't help it. See that yellow coming off? I think that would kind of mess with it in regards to its weight and stuff, so it'll change the valve working. At the moment this was not letting fuel in, so I definitely need to pop these out. I definitely need to give it all a good clean and then pop it back in. I'll do the air fuel screw as well. I don't know if that's loose or seized or what. Yeah, good luck with that. I am going to clean out and pop these for now though, and make sure this is all clean and ready to go. So just to show you it's fully dismantled, this main jet carrier is shocking. Look at that gunk. So it needs good cleaning. You'd have never got any bite, and actually down there, I'm not sure if you can see, it's kind of black and caked. So I'm going to use probably a whole tin or two on this. I'm going to go and get some cotton swabs to make sure I really clean out. And down there it's terrible. I'm not sure if you can see, but it's gunk, and the actual valve was seized in the air, and it's all a bit weird because if the valve was seized in the air, then why wasn't fuel coming through? So I'm going to really give this one a good clean. I'm going to do the other side as well, obviously, so that this is actually ready to go back on the bike and complete. Look at the bowl, that yellow stuff. What will happen is every time you put fuel in, the yellow varnish melts into the fuel and then goes back up the jets and blocks them. So you'll just keep getting trouble. You have to properly clean these. These are in the state where you could send them off. I mean, I know I can clean them well enough for them to be okay, but you could send them off to get them ultrasonic cleaned properly. I'm not going to bother. I believe I can get them right. So that carb's back together now, guys. I've never had to clean such a bad carb. The jets were seized and were blocked. I actually had to use little pieces of wire to unblock them, and I've never had to do that before. Spray has been enough, and I had to physically unblock them this time using tiny little bits of wire. So yeah, really shocked about that one, but saying that, it is done now. So this one's ready to go back on. I'm going to pop the other one, give the other one a good clean in exactly the same way, and try and piece it back together quickly so it's all kind of fresh and in my head, and then maybe even chuck it back on. I need to do a bit more in the bowl before I chuck it back on, make sure that's fully clean, that's fine, and then we're good to go on this front carb. Once again, just look at the throttle. That really unseized well. WD-40 saved that, guys. It saved me over 100 quid and the hassle of having to find a new one. So second carb could be better, could be worse, but this one had fuel going through it because I could drain it from the bottom. So curious, let's have a look. So I'm not sure how well you can see, but second carb is the same, just as bad, if not a touch worse. So same deal, obviously, clean it and get it back on. I'm going to be a bit quicker on this one. It is just as bad. Look at the actual jets, they're gunked up like anything. I'll show you them when I put them out. Yeah, so look guys, exactly the same. Zoom in. Oh, sorry. Zoom in. It's terrible zooming. Right, let me try and get something on there. There you go. Yeah, look, you see it kind of got like black. Basically it gets into these holes and it blocks them fully, so yeah, I'll clean this one, we'll get this one back together, get the yellow off the things again, the actual floats, clean it all out, pop it all back in, and hopefully we're good to go. I'm not going to test it till tomorrow, but it's good to get the majority of this done tonight. So there you go guys, about an hour later, 2 clean carbs back together, synced back together. The tubing on these things are intimidating. That's the kind of biggest issue. It's like it's everywhere, but a lot of it is air and overflow. That's just overflow. That's fuel, so that goes directly to the tank. It's a straight feed tank. Air, I believe. I'll double check, but air, and then coolant. These are coolant. That's coolant, and that's coolant. So you need to find the 2 hoses that go to them and there. But ultimately, this is it as it sits. There is one more hose on the bike that I can't find where it goes, and I think it goes here because that's the only real place that's left there. The idle is seized, so I've just got some WD on it. I'll let that work its way in a couple of days. Just keep playing with this, just keep kind of loosening it, and one day it will loosen up completely as the WD works its way through. That's quite simple, guys. Just down all the way up and at the top, and let it sit like we did the throttle actually. So at the moment we've got 2 carbs here, all back together, ready to go on the bike, fully cleaned. I don't see any reason why the bike wouldn't start tomorrow. I'll just kind of chuck them on as best as I can now. It's a bit complex aiming both sides, funny enough, and getting them into the holders, but they do go in. And if you're piecing it together full time, this is now where you need to work out all the other tubing. So I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got 3 spare pieces of tube. Now I've got one here that goes to a different piece. There you go. That's one of the coolant hoses that goes on. In fact, look, coolant's running out of here. Nice green coolant. And then I've got this one here. No, that's right. I have got one more somewhere. That's some sort of suction thing, so maybe a little hose goes on there. So I've got this one here and this one here, so there should be one more. And then I've got this one actually. That's the that's one as well, isn't it? So that's the 3rd one. All these ones are just airbox overflows and stuff like that, so it's a bit more worrying than it really kind of is. In reality, it's not that bad. So let me pop the carb back on. At least we're kind of one step closer there. Don't worry about this. I'm glad this is spilling out because I want to redo it all anyway. I mean, it doesn't smell too great. It smells very much like the yeah, it smells bad, so that needs flushing anyway. So I'm going to let that drain away, and yeah, let's see where we go from here. So there you go, guys. There's today's video. There's your Varadero 125 carb removal, carb clean, and carb reinstall. Now, for anyone who's struggling with these are all overflow air wires. These ones you don't need to worry about, okay? Overflow air wires. Now it's these ones that are flowing coolant that we need to worry about. Now I've gone from here to here because that's the only way it would reach, and then I've gone the longer one down here to across to the other side, and then I've done the same on the other side. Anything else, airflow, even these big ones, they're airflow. If you don't have to worry too much about all of them. Obviously if you fire the bike up and you find a leak, then you need to figure it out again. But they are extremely intimidating, these carbs, when you look at them and you take them off at first. And then in reality they're not that bad. I removed one side, the other side of these, and it comes out in one big long pin, and then you had enough just to tilt it and move it to be able to clamp the screws off because they were seized. So yeah, fingers crossed tomorrow or Sunday I'll throw some fuel in here and it will fire up. Fingers crossed. All this top bit, I'm going to show you that process on Sunday because it's also a little bit intimidating, but it's nothing major. Basically, you have one of these and you sit these pins, look, on top of the blacks like that. In fact, it slots in. Okay, then you go over with one of the black boots and you line it up using the dot. There's a dot somewhere. You line that up, then you bolt that down over the plastic. So I'm going to show you that properly on Sunday or Saturday evening, tomorrow evening, so that you guys get an idea of how to actually piece it back together. Because again, the actual airbox is a bit intimidating. It's all big and bulky. Other than that, fingers crossed this thing fires up. I don't see why it wouldn't. If it starts up, at this stage we'll be testing the coolant hoses and filling up all the coolant, making sure that's all done. I'm not going to be running this for any time until I've changed that oil, but I do want to hear it fires up first before I do anything. It needs a new battery, so it will need coolant flush and change, oil change, new battery, and then if it runs and rides and changes gear and stuff, a proper deep clean, and we'll look at cosmetics. Check out the throttle. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. Snaps back as it should, so I was really worried about that at first. I really thought I was going to have to buy a new carb, and they're hard to source. The other thing is, eventually, if it needs a chain, this pin here is bent. I need to try and straighten that, because I can't do anything if it's not straight. It's not like you can cut it off either. It doesn't work like that. This chain is quite loose. I don't know if there's any play left back here, but there might be. So it's worth at this stage checking that out. But a new chain and sprocket. What does the sprocket look like? Actually, the sprocket has quite a lot of teeth left. Look how wide the square is. The sprocket's not too bad. So it may need a new chain, or it may just need this one tightening properly. And I think it's probably not been done because of that being snapped. So what way do we go to get this back? So it shouldn't affect it at this stage. So we'll get that chain tightened up at some point. But again, this is all much later down the line. This, I don't know if that's metal or plastic. It looks plastic, but it's probably metal. Needs to come off and painting in the long run. All these plastics can be off and painted in the long run. I think these are plastic and all off and painted in the long run. And then I think I was going to move this bottle down here, or I'm going to use something. Someone suggested something else, but I forgot what they said. What's that? That's the fuel line. Yeah, they suggested using some other bottle, but I just need kind of a mini one, really, don't I? Somewhere down here, tucked away. Because these bottles only come into play if you overheat and have an issue. Otherwise, they don't really get used. So they are important, but not if your engine's running well. So that's it for today, guys. I'm really pleased. It's looking okay at the moment. I'm going to keep at it. I think this will start. One carb was trying to start the bike the other day, and that wasn't good enough. Now we've got 2 carbs. I think this might start.